you're
going
telling
on
your
to
kids to
know
stop fussing.
All right, guys, he's getting on I-10. It looks like westbound I-10 towards San Antonio. Yeah, he definitely got on the entrance ramp to westbound I-10 from southbound
He kind of had
Loop.
to, it looks like. Looks like his other option was a poor one.
Yeah, the other option was just to sit in traffic on the West Loop, so that was just not a good option for him.
Yeah, and then
now he's on the westbound side of I-10, and you know, traffic backs up there closer into the belt. From the loop to the belt, it's never a good time at that 4:41 in the afternoon. You know, he's going to run into some major traffic up there as well.
Yeah, of course, they just expanded that portion of the freeway, so had this been a year or so ago, you probably wouldn't be moving hardly at all, but they've got more lanes, and actually, again, it looks pretty wide open right now.
Yeah, he's getting very lucky at this point, and that large SUV has kind of helped and hurt him at times. He's been able to use it to mow over several grassy medians and get through some walls of bushes. Other times, he's been trying to squeezing into tight spaces, and that's not helped him, but here he is again, picking up speed, as Andy Bass told us, in the westbound lanes of I-10 as he just got off the exit ramp from the West Loop. And it looks like at this point he's having no problem weaving through traffic at pretty decent speeds. Andy, what kind of speeds is he hitting right now?
We're doing about 85 miles an hour, and we're having a hard time keeping up with him, so he's got it exceeding 90, maybe 100 miles an hour now. And I'm looking up on the westbound side of I-10, and I can tell at about 2 miles he's going to start hitting some more rough traffic. I can see it slowing down up there just a little bit. So he's going to come into some heavier traffic as he continues westbound on I-10.
Yeah, the Beltway 8 ahead of him, and the Katy traffic, folks that are heading to Katy after a hard day's work. We see a lot more 18-wheelers as well right now on the roads. And again, the police officers have been as close as they are, if you're just joining us now, as close as they are right now with the vehicle right behind him. That's how it's been for a long period of time. It's very difficult to get out in front of someone. And again, on the freeway, your best bet would be to put spikes in front of them, but that you can't do that obviously when you can't get in front of them and the freeway is full of traffic. So you just kind of have to hope that the driver decides to pull over on their own and bail on the vehicle, rather than that the driver waits until he or she has crashed into a wall or another vehicle, even worse.
And the great thing about it, I'm sorry, go ahead, Andy.
Usually a Good Samaritan will see this in the back and maybe block him in so the cops could get to him. I've seen that a couple of times, you know, since we're catching a couple of chases.
Ooh, yeah, but 80 miles an hour, I'd hate to see someone try and do that with a car going that fast. You know, Andy?
We've got up to 100 miles an hour in Sky Eye. We are just a little bit behind him right now, so he's over 100 miles an hour on the westbound side of the Katy.
This could get really dangerous, and of course, you know, the good thing about a live picture like this from Sky Eye HD is if you know someone that's commuting in this area and you're watching this, definitely give them a call on their cell phone and say, hey, you know, just be safe, keep yourself alert, this is what's going on. Again, the westbound lanes, Andy, at what point, what exits are we passing now?
I'm going to guess Bunker Hill.
Hard. Let me pull back
I'm going to guess Bunker Hill, around
That's
Bunker Hill.
That's a good guess, Gina. We're approaching Blaylock right now.
Blaylock, okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah, the belt is just in front of us. I can see the belt from the front window of Sky Eye, so he's about 2.5 miles just east of the West Belt. So he's approaching that traffic, and then we got Highway 6 after that, so he's got some major traffic coming up in front of him.
All right, so at this point, Andy, I know this is where the Katy Freeway's kind of got these new lanes. There's an HOV lane and also a toll road there, and he's kind of riding the shoulders of that HOV lane and toll road as well to kind of keep himself out of traffic, correct?
That is correct. He is riding the you know, the HOV lane and the far left lane as far as he possibly can go. And yeah, he's in an only lane right now, so that lane I think is going to end eventually and maybe take him to the loop or to the belt, I should say.
Andy, can you widen out the shot more for us? We're trying to get we want to get a better idea of what the driver is approaching as we head toward Katy and head toward the Beltway 8 there. And it looks as though folks have managed to stay out of his or her way. I guess we don't know yet that it's a male or a female, only we were told that one person's in the vehicle.
At this point, I feel very lucky that we've only seen just a couple of side swipes and a few side mirrors knocked off, because, you know, he's in a large SUV. It's very heavy, this white Suburban here, and those things don't maneuver too well at high speeds. And so at this point, no one's been seriously injured from what we've been able to tell again since we started picking up this live picture. Again,
one male driver we've confirmed, but we have not been able to find out for sure what alleged offense precipitated this chase. So we're still trying to find out from police officials about that. But this has been going on now for a good 20-25 minutes.
Yeah, we see at least 4 cruisers there just within Sky IHD's shot. You can only assume that more are following as well. And it seems for the most part, when he was taking some of those turns there in the heights, that, police were being very cautious, to not cause a wreck and make something else happen other than just letting him move around at this point and wait for the best opportunity to corner him if they can.
Yeah, it's very difficult when you're in a community. He was in the Garden Oaks community driving around. Very difficult to stop him safely. I'm sorry, Andy, you want to say something?
We're just about to cross underneath the belt. There's the belt off ramps and on ramps right there. So we are just crossing underneath the belt right now. A lot of traffic is looking behind them. I can see that they're all pulling over onto the right side and letting the 2 left lanes open. So this guy can continue. I can just tell that from just being up here and looking out my window that a lot of the traffic is seeing these guys come up behind them, and they're just moving over to the left side or to the right side. So the left lanes are completely open right now.
Yeah, it's amazing. The traffic that we show everyone this time of day on roads around Houston.
Horrible.
Yes, and here he is with what essentially almost appears a free pass.
You know what, though? A lot of schools are out, and people have started their Easter weekend vacations early, so perhaps that's why we're seeing lighter than usual traffic on a Thursday afternoon. Some folks maybe have taken off already for Austin or Galveston.
Yeah, and again, he continues just to ride that shoulder there. At this point, and I guess is where the freeway lanes are next to those toll road lanes there on the Katy Freeway.
Yeah, Eric, that is right. The toll lanes are on to the left side of your screen, and he is right in that shoulder in between the main lanes and the HOV lanes right now, and that's where he's pretty been for the last 5 to 10 miles. And it's going to close up pretty soon. The pilot just told me that there's a lot of traffic ahead. I'm going to just pull out a little bit. Maybe
yeah, we'd like to see that. Yeah.
All right. So.
In fact, again, he is heading toward Katy right now. Interesting to me that there's more traffic headed toward downtown Houston. I would have guessed the opposite at this time of day, but he's headed toward Katy, and we understand that he might face some bottlenecking ahead, and we can only hope that he pulls over on his own to the shoulder of the road rather than crashes into another unsuspecting motorist. And there he goes.
There goes the shoulder lane. Pretty much, it just ended.
Yeah, and big vehicles, a bus and a big 18-wheeler on either side. So it gets harder to slip around.
So Andy, what is he doing right now? Probably anywhere from 70 to 80 miles an hour.
I think he's doing a little bit more than that. We're doing about 100 miles an hour, and he's in front of us, so he's got to be doing maybe $110. And it just rises the question: he keeps driving his vehicle like this, is he going to run out of gas before he gets to his destination, or are they going to catch him? Is that how they're going to get him? Is he going to run out of gas?
Shoulder's gone. He's off the shoulder now, and that always makes it more difficult as well. He runs out of options of places to go. And that's just what happened.
Now he's in the HOV lane?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's now in the HOV lane.
The police are right there with him. He is not slicker than the police officers following him, that's for sure.
Yeah, it seems at this point they are being cautious. You can only imagine maybe talking on the radios and waiting for the opportune moment.
Yeah, you got to be patient.
To just close in on him. And as Andy was right, here comes the bottlenecking, the traffic jam. That he's going to have to just navigate, and it won't be too easy because traffic is slowing all around him at this point.
And Andy, you told us that would happen, and we see it now. We see how much more hectic it is on the Katy Freeway, headed toward Katy right now, headed westbound.
And now he's got to decipher which way he's going to go with all this traffic that's up there. And even further west than where we're at right now, I see a lot of traffic up there as well. So he's going to decipher whether, to stay on here or try to get off and try to, elude the police in a different way. But yeah, it's going to get real heavy, especially right near Highway 6.
There are police officers in front of him as well as behind. I see so many white vehicles around him, it's kind of hard for me to figure out.
It's hard to tell. I have not seen any of them in front of him as of yet. Let me pull out a little bit more. I have not seen any in front. They have all been behind him since we have joined the chase.
Okay.
So, yeah, I have not seen anything in front of him as of yet, Gina.
Okay, and again, I want to recap for people who are just tuning in. Chase we've been following for, about 20-25 minutes. It began over near the Heights, North Loop, Shepherd areas when we started on the air with it. The person in the car, a male, we're told. We don't know what made this person begin fleeing the police, but this pursuit kind of spun upward in the Garden Oaks community where he circled around in circles before finally getting on the loop and headed now on the I-10 Katy freeway headed toward Katy. The police have always been close on his tail, but haven't got him to pull over. He has sideswiped a couple of vehicles. It looked as though the side mirrors were knocked off, but nothing major. And also he ran into some construction barriers, but he just keeps moving along.
Yeah, he is definitely picking up speeds right now, easily passing vehicles that are in the main lanes as he continues to ride that shoulder there. Again, going westbound on the Katy freeway. He passed underneath the Beltway several minutes ago, so he's definitely into the Katy area at this point. Andy, it looks like, what, does he cross over into the toll lanes there? Or what's he on right now?
Yeah, he definitely crossed over into the HOV lanes again. He is approaching Highway 6. I'm not too sure if there's officers up there maybe staging and waiting for him at Highway 6 or not. It's harder to look up there. But yeah, he's now, we already passed Highway 6 according to that, so I guess that was out of there. So he's continuing on there, and I think these are the HOV lanes. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I think so. It looks like it to me. But yes, it is difficult when you're looking from above. Yeah, there's the triangles there. So, or the diamonds, I should say, not the triangles. I guess I flunked second grade math there. But yeah, the diamonds there.
But I knew what you meant.
Thank you, Eric, for having my back on that.
Okay, well, here he is again in these HOV lanes. And it looks like he's going to have to deal with some traffic here, even in the HOV lanes. But again, like he's done for the last several minutes, he's going to go ahead and just take that shoulder and just continue to pick up speed again in this white Suburban that we've seen already sideswipe at least 2 vehicles. And again, with just 1 person, we're being told inside. Looks like an officer there with
he tried to get the spikes.
Sure did. Looks like they were unsuccessful at that point. But that's got to be tough for an officer to get out there when there's a big, huge SUV barreling at you at high speeds.
Yeah. A freeway here, the wide lanes of I-10, the Katy freeway westbound in the Katy area now.
And frankly, as we were watching this chase earlier, before we were able to take our live picture, it looked 2 or 3 times to me as though he was done, that the cops had him. And then each time he was able to wiggle his way out of the situation by crossing a median, driving actually on a median at one point for some distance, then off the streets, into grass, through parking lots, and then finally back where he is now, heading towards Katy on I-10 West.
And this is really scary when you think about it, because like you said, this really is the start of a long holiday weekend, and we could be looking at a lot of families in those cars, families who are making road trips to head out of town, and this guy has absolutely no regard for the safety and well-being of others on the roadway, and it looks like he's going to be running into a major accident here. Look at that.
You see there is an 18-wheeler accident that has traffic very congested that he's going to be running right up against here. It looked like that 18-wheeler had straddled about 3 lanes of traffic with all the traffic clogged up behind it.
All of I-10 is shut down at that point. I'm going to ask our producer to find out what exactly caused that accident up ahead. But look, traffic already starting to slow.
This is where we get into a problem here, because now he clearly shows no intention of wanting to stop. He's reached a desperate situation. Now we've got 3 police cars behind him. He's coming up to a natural roadblock here caused by an accident.
He almost hit that truck. Traffic is really going to start to bottleneck in just a moment. I don't know if you saw from Sky 2 just a second ago, but all of I-10 is shut down westbound.
Spike him still, and with the traffic shut down, he is going to find himself on that shoulder with nowhere to go. You see the cars are not moving.
That's right, and police have shut down the freeway up ahead. That's why the vehicles are not moving anymore at this point. So at this point, he continues to just speed past, and now he's got the freeway open to himself.
Okay,
we didn't see any officers and just drove by a couple of...
That was an effort to spike him on the far left, too, I saw. But you know what? The fact that they have no other vehicles headed this way now, it makes it easier for them to put out spikes, because they don't have to worry about other motorists being injured if they hit the spikes and then their tires are disabled and they spin out of control. So when it's only him against the police, it's a fairer fight, shall I say.
And we're getting information from the newsroom. You see one officer there that there's nothing ahead of him at this point. We've seen 2 officers already try to unsuccessfully put those spike strips underneath the tires of this white Chevrolet Suburban. But he swerved the first time. The second time, it just wasn't that good of a throw. It's kind of hard to hit a huge truck that's traveling at 90+ miles an hour. But now we see the lanes open for him. At least 2 patrol cruisers pretty much tailing him right now.
Looks like Mason Road. He just passed by, getting close to Katy, and again, he has been eluding police now for an excess of about 35 minutes. There's the Grand Parkway exit you can see right there.
And we picked this chase up, as Gina said, a good half hour ago at least, in the Heights area on the northbound lanes of Shepherd, and here we are in far west Houston.
There's the spikes right there. He eluded it again. He was able to get farther to the right. Police, that's about the fourth or fifth time I think I've seen an officer to the left-hand side there in the shoulder trying to get those spikes out there. Again, the problem, and Eric, you mentioned it earlier, is the police officer has to be careful that they don't put themselves in a situation where the motorist can just, drive into them. So it's a difficult art to get the spikes in front of the tires, but not put yourself in harm's way.
It's also interesting to see how police handle these chases. We've seen them be cautious at times to not get other motorists involved in some sort of accident. Now we see how they kind of shut down this freeway here, the Katy Freeway, to get motorists off the road while they try to bring this chase to a stop. But it's kind of hard to get those spike strips out there. He's been able to swerve around them each time because he has so much lane space.
Again, we still don't know what precipitated this chase. Don't know what this person is accused of having done that made police begin to pursue him in the first place. Oh, sorry, thought I lost you for a second, Andy. Andy, what can you tell us about what lies ahead?
Right now we're doing 110 miles an hour, and this guy is literally walking away from Sky High HD, so he's got to be going at least 120, 130 miles an hour right now, having a very hard time keeping up with him. I'm actually going to zoom in the camera a little bit more.
It appears he has his hazards on at this point.
Well, he's in hazard for sure.
That or just a brake light. I haven't decided which one that is, if he has his hazards on or not. They've got a couple more staging grounds up there. I think there's at least 2 more people up there with spikes ready for him when he does approach them. But it's so hard to tell.
Yeah, and there's so many lanes that when you're trying to get spikes out in front of him, those strips only look to me as though they go out maybe 2 lanes at the most. So if he's got an option of 4 or 5 lanes, all he has to do is head to the right or to the left to avoid the strip.
Exactly, and it's not easy to put 2 spikes on, from either side of the highway to get him and just try to contain him in that way, because, you're putting your life at risk because you don't know what kind of frame of mind this man is in. Like you said, he's running from the cops, so he's probably not in the rightest frame of mind as of right now.
Okay.
Now, for a while, the freeway was closed off to other traffic, and we're seeing traffic again now. Not a lot of traffic, but traffic nevertheless.
No, it's definitely lighter as we continue westbound on I-10 away from the city. It's, they haven't shut it down. I do see some cars, and there's a couple of officers off to the shoulder there in the apex lane. Let me just pull back a little bit, and you can just see how much traffic is not really out here at this point. It's pretty much wide open for him, and the officers haven't shut down any more of the lanes as far as we can tell.
Yeah, but there they go, officers laying in wait for him to pass by. So they're certainly doing a good job at this point of anticipating his move since he's just traveling westbound. Eric and I are going to turn it over to Art and Melanie, who have been sitting by waiting to take over coverage of this chase.
That's right, folks. So we've been following this for you here on Eyewitness News at 4 for the last at least 30, 40 minutes. We will now hand it over to Art and Melanie for Live at 5.
All right, thank you, Eric and Gina. Welcome to Live at 5 tonight. You are watching live here this high-speed chase, which has been going on now for the good part of 35, 40 minutes, capturing it all right here on ABC 13 as we watch this SUV. He has been in and out of traffic, traversing Houston streets, sideswiping vehicles, at least a half a dozen of them, and now is westbound on the Katy Freeway. This is I-10. He's already passed Pin Oak, and he's clear out there now on the west side.
That's right, heading to Katy. This began in the Garden Oaks neighborhood. That's where we picked it up, as Art said, more than 35 minutes ago. He traveled around the loop, spun through the Garden Oaks neighborhood, then got onto the loop, and then on to I-10 West, and he has been headed that way for some time. We did see police officers actually close down the freeway at one point, hold all the traffic to one side, and he still managed to elude them and continue on. He's eluded several attempts to try to lay out those spikes that actually flatten tires, and now, as you see, he has gotten back into traffic. The other thing we've noticed is he's traveled almost exclusively on the shoulder or the HOV lane.
Yeah, that's really how he's been getting around. Now, what is really odd here as well is that you saw the police department shut down the entire I-10 freeway, but then they left the lane open so that he could simply cruise by. All he did was just drive by the shoulder without any problem whatsoever. And they've been throwing the spike strips out there, of course, but he simply drives around them and continues to move. Now, Andy Bass has been traveling, he said, at 100, 110 miles an hour in that helicopter, but yet he's still ahead of you, right, Andy? I mean, it's tough to keep up.
He's a quarter-mile ahead of us right now, and yeah, it's very hard to keep up with him. The pilot's giving it all she's got, and he's just walking away from us right now.
Man.
So he's got to be exceeding.
Andy, are you seeing that the police are at least trying to wave off traffic or warn people? I mean, are they, we've obviously seen a number of police cars behind him, but are they giving the rest of the traffic at least some word?
You know, I'm looking up in the front of Sky Eye out the front window, and there's not a whole lot of traffic out here. So I don't think they're too worried about the rest, you know, like the rush hour traffic like back in the city. So I don't think they're going to be shutting down I-10 anymore like they did back there. You know, several people have been pulling over as they're probably checking in the rearview mirror and seeing what's behind them and what's coming up behind them. A lot of people are just staying to the right lane.
And an interesting development here, Andy, that we've been told right now is that the HPD, they've been controlling this this entire high-speed chase, but now we understand it has been turned over to the DPS, and you can see the DPS car right there because those are black on the bottom and white on the top. White on the top. That is a DPS vehicle behind him now. So the DPS may handle this entirely differently than the HPD, because there are different standards when it comes to the you know, the how you stop a high-speed chase. Also, they're in more of a remote area, and so when you get out into the remote areas like this, you tend to have a bit more flexibility on what you can do and how you can stop a car like this.
Because we did see him have a number of near misses there. As Art mentioned, he knocked mirrors off of some of the cars because he came so close to them. There were a couple of opportunities for him to sort of cross in the middle of a red light intersection, and there were a couple of very close calls. So at this point, I would imagine they are trying their best to at least control what other traffic he may come in contact with.
And he's clearly a danger here. I mean, he has just been zooming in and out of traffic. He knocked over a couple of signs, as we saw earlier, Andy, earlier in the chase. And man, when he was speeding by some of those other vehicles right there on the shoulder, he was hitting mirror after mirror. You just saw them sort of fly through the air and through traffic.
Now, Andy, we understand he has just crossed over the Brazos River. Can you give us a pretty good idea where we are now?
Not yet. We're approaching the Brazos River right now. I'm going to try to get the pilot to give me a cross street that we're going to cross over right now. It's
you're headed out there
359
into the Sealy area then. I mean, you're
we're in
Sealy,
Sealy, definitely in Sealy, past Katy.
It looked for a moment there like he might get off the freeway, but I guess he's back over now in the far left lane.
You know, traveling
now he's in the middle.
Traveling at a high speed like this, I mean, these SUVs, you're lucky if you get, you know, 13, 14 miles per gallon, but when you're doing 80, 90, 100, 110, you're going to be going through gas like, you know, 4 miles a gallon. So this guy's going to be running out of gas at some point. I mean, he's going to, what's he want to do? Hit San Antonio? Who knows? I mean, but he's headed westbound, and now he's approaching Sealy, and he just keeps it, the pedal there to the metal, flying at well over speeds of 100 miles an hour. Now to appear to be slowing down just a bit because of traffic.
Yeah, and it looks like he's coming up behind what appears to be a red truck, a little hard to see there, and a number of 18-wheelers as well in this area. Yeah, a red pickup truck that looks like it's about to pull over. He's obviously seeing there's a lot of activity in his rear view window there, rear view mirror, so he's taking a look here. But this guy continues to move. We've been told he's traveled more than 55 miles at this point, as we say, weaving in and out of traffic, and now appearing at several different points as though he might be trying to get off at one of the exits.
Houston police will tail behind because this chase did start in Houston, in the Heights area, in fact. But this could, there's an officer getting really close. Maybe they see an opportunity. Nope.
Out of the vehicle there. We understand there's spikes. They're trying to set him out there in the front as they lead, you know, this vehicle on. And what you would have to do with the spikes, of course, is get rid of some of the other traffic that's there on the freeway, which sometimes can be a hazard. So you wonder whether they're going to shut it down at any point, or at least try and maneuver some folks over to the sides to get this guy in a position where he would actually run over the spikes, because before he's been eluding them.
Well, it looks as though he is slowing down, and we don't.
Up.
But it doesn't even look like he ran out of gas. Just that he's slowing down. He's getting out now, as you can see. It looks like he is about to assume the position, raising his hands. And we
have a frozen picture there, but you can see what is happening still. That guy getting out of the vehicle after traveling some 45 minutes, and we hope to get that picture back up here in just a moment. But he came out with his hands raised.
And you can see the officer with a gun pulled on him already, Dan.
Right. Right.
We are efforting to get that picture back there. There you go. You can see him laying on the ground, officers surrounding him, both DPS officers and HPD, the HPD there in the blue.
Oh, yeah. You can see the HPD guy over him at this point and trying to get some handcuffs on him. He immediately assumed that position of raising his hands. He apparently just said, hey, there's no way this is going to happen of me getting away. You can clearly see now the guy in the white T-shirt, handcuffed, being led away by HPD was still on the scene there. You see the DPS there as well in the in that different color uniform.
Well, and we were wondering whether or not he was in that SUV by himself. There have been some indications that perhaps he was the only passenger, and from at least that brief picture that we were able to see there, it looks as though he was the only person inside that SUV. Don't know what finally persuaded him to stop. Yeah. Perhaps it was the fact that that road was narrowing and he didn't have anywhere to go. But we are going to at least take you back to portions of this chase right now. As we mentioned, it began first in the Garden Oaks neighborhood.
You can see the mirror there fly off that vehicle, and watch this. He clips that vehicle there, and that happened again and again. And here he takes out a sign. You can see the sign just sort of topple over to the ground and hit a vehicle. In fact, this is him going in and out of traversing through downtown traffic.
And now we're taking live pictures. Once again, you saw him there near the beginning in the Garden Oaks neighborhood. Now you can get some sense of just how many vehicles were involved in this chase, both HPD and, as Art mentioned, DPS also a part of this. But they have him in handcuffs. They are clearly controlling him at this point. And as we say, it appears just that sole individual inside that truck. But he managed to keep this chase going for well over 45 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the question still is, why is this guy running? What caused him to run to begin with? We still don't have any answers there. We are trying to effort that and certainly research as to why this guy was on the run to begin with and how it all started. But we do know it's been going on for 45 minutes. We do know that he was in extreme danger while he was on the road, traveling at speeds excess over 100, 110 miles an hour, weaving in and out of traffic, sideswiping vehicles. We must have at least a half dozen vehicles or so that were at least sideswiped, at least their mirrors, some signs taken out here and there. But fortunately, and we're very lucky here, when it comes to the possibility of having a major wreck, that's what we were all assuming might take place, the way this guy was driving.
Well, and as you saw, that bravado while he was driving went away pretty abruptly when suddenly he was faced with, you know, dozens here of police officers on the scene. But their attempts to try to stop him several times by throwing out those spikes did not work. Unfortunately, it was at several points where the road was very wide. They're along the Katy Freeway, where you have 4 to 5 to 6 lanes at any given point, and they were not able to stop him. But at some point, perhaps he was just persuaded by the sheer number of officers behind him, and he just decided he simply could not keep this going indefinitely. He stopped, pulled over there very close to the Brazos River, and got out.
Yeah, we're right next to Sealy over here, at the Brazos River. Now the vehicle, the HPD as well as DPS, checking out the vehicle, rummaging through it, trying to find any evidence, of course, of whatever it is they're searching for. But this is the end of the chase, and how it all came to a conclusion is this guy just simply pulled over. We're not quite sure why, but he just gave it up, and as Melanie said, perhaps he just realized, hey, I'm the only one on this freeway, and behind me are, 24 officer units, DPS and HPD. And
at some point, it's simply the math, and you realize you just can't keep outrunning them indefinitely. But we do see officers there searching his truck at this point, no doubt trying to determine what may have made him run, if perhaps he had some substance inside, illegal substance, or something he was not supposed to have. I presume they're also checking into whether or not this was a stolen vehicle in the first place. But as you can see here, him being handcuffed, they kick his legs there to make sure that he's not hiding any weapons, and he is being handcuffed and checked out.
Yeah, and if we're able to go to any more highlights of him just racing down that I-10 freeway, or I think it was actually the West Loop, we'll get to that in a moment, but why don't we go ahead and go to a break first, and then we will come back and bring you more highlights. We'll be back with more Eyewitness News at 5 o'clock in a moment.
And we are back back live with Sky Eye above the scene where this very extended police chase finally came to an end there. You see that SUV that police officers have been chasing for more than 45 minutes now being loaded onto not a dumpster, a tow truck. I'm trying to think of the word there. A tow truck, and it will be taken away from the scene, no doubt, to be gone through far more thoroughly once it is in a police impound. This chase went on for well over 45 minutes, as we indicated, and traveled really all across the city, from Garden Oaks to the Loop, then on to I-10 West, headed towards Katy, and came to an end here, very close to the Brazos River in I-10 West.
Yeah, he made a pretty good distance. We'll have much more in just a little bit later on Eyewitness News and Live at 5 as well. But first, let's get to some...